and welcome to Off the Record Live. We're here today in Neon Media's wonderful offices in Nashville, Tennessee, and joining us is Brandon Lay. How are you, Brandon?
I'm doing good, Joe. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Well, we're so glad to have you here today talking with us, especially because you got a lot of cool stuff that you're working on. You had a handful of singles coming out last year. You had Back Home coming out this Friday.
That's right.
And so there's a lot of cool stuff for us to talk about.
Yeah, absolutely. Content, we're in a content-driven business, so it's, as somebody that writes a lot of songs, it's awesome to release them out in the world. So, yeah, looking forward to Friday. That's Back Home's been around a while, so I'll be glad to share it with the world.
Yeah, absolutely. And if you're watching at home, you're seeing content being made live in the moment. This is where content comes from. We're generating it right now. And for that content today,
I'm kind of fired up. I feel
yeah,
like
I know. I'm getting us all excited.
Yeah.
This is the real deal content. The content that we're going to be making today is going to be a conversation where I really kind of want to talk about kind of your background as an artist, kind of what kind of forged your sound and your artistry, and then building into what your pandemic experience was like and these new kind of songs you got coming out. And I want to start with something really foundational, which is reading your biography. You kind of grew up and came from the area in between Memphis and Nashville. And I thought that was so interesting. And so I'm just wondering, what can you tell us about your early years with music? What was your kind of relationship with it like when you were growing up?
Music always meant a lot to me. I realized when I got old enough to start spending the night with friends that other houses don't sing as much as mine did. I had two older sisters that sang in church, and music was church music, country music. It was my mom loved Chicago and like Bryan Adams, so a little bit of that thrown in there, and it was always around. But my first love was basketball, and so I played basketball all the way up through my senior year in college. And I took a guitar class as an elective, and that's when I fell in love with playing music and got bit by the band bug and knew I wanted to move to Nashville when I graduated. So that's what I did.
Oh, right on. Wow. Do you feel like basketball was kind of a good precursor for getting at least like stage fright or a little bit?
Oh, no. It's two total different things. The butterflies are similar, but, I think the basketball, the parallel there would be just, how hard I was grinding on that. And when I wanted to go to music, I just quit basketball completely and put all that energy that I was grinding in basketball into music and, making flyers and trying to grow regionally. And, but my music experience growing up in Jackson, in between Nashville and Memphis, was early on. I found a guitar player and he knew Southern rock, and so we played a lot of Leonard Skinner, and I just had to learn what those guys could play, because that was the most convenient way starting out a band. So that probably has a little bit to do with some of my sound anyway. So I kept wanting to play like That Ain't My Truck and Vidalia. I wanted to play some 90s country, and these guys, were like Molly Hatchet. So I think it kind of forged a good blend.
All right, Flirting with Disaster.
Yeah.
There needs to be like a Molly Hatchet revival or something. I gotta come back.
Yeah, those twin guitars are pretty mean.
Wow. So you mentioned that you started playing guitar kind of around then, and you took that elective. When did you kind of start like songwriting or really like performing out even? Like when was your first gigging kind of experience?
My teacher who recently passed away is a really great guy named Charlie Baker. He's a staple musician in that area. He's taught a lot of people to play guitar. He was like, you either need to go be in a play or you need to go do an open mic night and do something that scares you, and that's after I'd learned G, C, and D, and I was writing as soon as I could play a chord. I felt like that was just a literal instrument to get words on paper, so that was definitely a draw. But he said get out of your comfort zone and go play a open mic. So I drove 45 minutes away on a Tuesday night to this little block bar building by the Tennessee River and didn't tell my roommates or anything. And I just remember I played Fat Bottom Girls and Keep Your Hands to Yourself, and then Love Your Love the Most by Eric Church. And I remember there was only 8 people there, and it was a real rundown bar. They've already bulldozed it down, but on the way home that night, I was like, this is it. And I think it might have even been the next day I quit basketball, told coach I was moving on to something else, and then just put all that into music.
Wow, so you really knew when you knew.
Yeah. It's not to over dramatize it, but people say when you know, and in relationships. For me, that really rang true for my wife Nicole and career path. It's usually the small decisions I have big problems with. The big ones, luckily have come pretty easy.
Yeah, wow. Well, so the next question I was going to ask you is kind of, you start doing music. When was kind of the moment where you were like, well, this is like the career I want to follow? But it sounds like that was pretty immediate. That you were, like,
it was
going all in.
definitely that night I played Fat Bottom Girls. It was, I remember going home in the rain, and I loaded up an amp I bought off Craigslist, and it was an old Ibanez. You could play through it and sing through it. So I just remember thinking, like, this is for sure what I'm going to do, and had no idea what I was in for, but I wouldn't trade it for anything else. It's been a great experience.
That's so great you played Fat Bottom Girls.
Yeah, without any harmony too, so you can imagine how that came out.
I had an open mind. Yeah, that's epic. Wow. So now kind of fast forwarding a bit, it seems like your career really kind of started taking off in a really intense way in 2016 when you started doing tours and radio stuff, and then in 2017, obviously, you had Speakers, Bleachers, and Preachers come out. What was that kind of whole whirlwind like to finally come to a point where you were really kind of able to do this on like that caliber?
Oh, it was definitely a big step up. The increments kind of for me were getting a publishing deal. I had a publishing deal for 3 years, wrote songs, still write for Warner Chappell, but that was kind of the segue to the record deal. And I never knew if I would get a record deal or not, but I would have walked on glass from Jackson to get one. And when I got a record deal, it's one thing to have a record deal and another thing to have a song out. And so in 17, when Speakers, Bleachers, and Preachers came out, I was just, really happy to have that opportunity and tried to make the most of it. Whirlwind it was, especially on radio tour and whatnot. But, getting on bigger tours, playing different kinds of rooms, you learn a lot about yourself. And, the radio tour was a grind, but, it's what you got to do to push your music. And I was fortunate to be able to try it.
Yeah, absolutely. So tell us a little bit about like going on a tour, and especially you were opening for a lot of great artists like Kenny Chesney and all of that. I gotta imagine that's gotta be like a crazy like learning experience. Do you feel like each night you're getting better and better?
Tried to, yeah, for sure. And I told my band that too. Like, we need to watch Kenny's band every single night. We need to watch Thomas Rhett's band and get better. And it was a great summer. It was an awesome summer. Kenny was very generous, and coming back on stage with him every night to sing "She Thinks My Tractor's Sexy," like 50,000 people. It's more of a thrill than I thought this country boy would ever feel. So that went by too fast. I loved that summer. That was the summer of 18, and guys like Thomas Rhett and Old Dominion, and obviously Kenny himself. It was a great opportunity for somebody, in my profile to get out there and try to make the most of.
Yeah, wow. So now, starting to bring that up to our current period, what was it like then to finally have that all come to a stop last year with the pandemic? What was your quarantine like?
I had a great time during quarantine, honestly. Probably too much fun. My wife and I have been building a house the last 2 years, and so I got off of music for a while, and I think by doing that, it kind of sharpened my perspective when it came to making music, and I think it kind of hyper-focused, like, all right, what am I really about? What I really want to get out? I only have so many chances to put music out. What I really want to say, and so in a way, the pandemic kind of made me look in the rearview mirror a little bit at some of these older songs that I've had that, as quintessential as it sounds, to stick to your roots. That's kind of what COVID kind of showed me.
Yeah, absolutely. Wow. And so now, even like digging into like something like your kind of writing process and all of that, like even stepping away from like live shows, like when you write, do you find that like you consider like those different like settings, like whether you're gonna be playing it live or not? And was that something that you were like thinking about, stepping away from that? Yeah.
I think every time you write a song, I always measure it up with how many like live points does it score, and some of the ones I love the most, obviously when you're putting together a 15-30-minute show, you got to pack it out and have a lot of energy, but definitely when you're writing, you got to keep that in mind. And I went into the studio with Jonathan Singleton, who's also from Jackson, and he opened for me one night, and he was like, that's what we need to put on record that you haven't done yet. Even Speakers, Bleachers, and Preachers, my first few singles, there was a bridge that needed to be made between my live show and the record, and so that's what we tried to do with this new stuff.
Yeah, wow. Well, on that note, I wanted to ask about Jonathan Singleton. When did you meet him? When did that all kind of come together?
I was sneaking out of my house to watch his band play at a bar called Barley's back in the day. His band was The Grove, and man, they were just like, they were it in Jackson. And In fact, when he moved to Nashville and wrote Watching Airplanes, it left a vacuum there, if you will, for me and my band to take over. And so we kind of ran, the Jackson music scene, and that was definitely a launch pad to grow. But Jonathan is a guy I've always admired, and everybody in town admires him. He's definitely one of a kind. But I just felt like somebody like him would get where I'm coming from. And obviously him seeing me play live, and I just kind of saw it click for him and, let him take the reins.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I'd love to hear you talk a little bit about your specific sound and hear it from your words, because when I was listening to it, I was really struck by, you have like such a great blend of, I wrote down 3 elements where I feel like there's classic rock kind of influences in there. There's like the 90s country kind of influence in there. And then there's just like really solid like modern kind of country pop writing all mixed in. And especially like with the new singles and stuff, I feel like that sound really kind of comes into its own and as like a perfect synthesis of those kind of 3. But that's just my perspective. How do you kind of describe it?
No, I mean, that is that's a generous perspective. Definitely the classic rock is definitely me being more of a, I'm a country boy, listened to country music growing up, that was it. But, when I got in college, we were rocking out to all the classic rock stuff. And so definitely you want some of that in your show because you want some energy and some feel good. And I did try to marry those. And, the record was fun to make because it was more band driven as opposed to chasing more cinematic, moody vintage sounds that we did at first. This one was just like, count it off and let's rock. And so, hopefully that comes through in the music because, I didn't want to lose the words, the lyrics meaning a lot. And sometimes I feel like the more production you layer on, it's a compromise. It takes the focus away from the lyrics. And so, there's a sweet spot there that I think Jonathan kind of helped me contextualize that.
Yeah, wow. And so when you're like writing, do you usually like write entirely just on its own? Do you demo as you write and kind of think about those arrangements as like the songs start coming together?
Usually once we start writing the song, the arrangement kind of falls together, but most of my songs all start either in my note section of my phone or the memo section, and sometimes I'll listen back and be like, what the hell was I thinking? That sounds like a cat dying, but I don't know what it was inspiring me, but sometimes it's a little something that I don't know what to do with, but I always play it in the room for co-writers. I'm like, y'all about to hear some awful stuff, and it, maybe spark an interest for them going in a different direction. So I just try to keep an open mind about it. But definitely, those are your bullets when you get in the room to write with somebody. It all starts with an idea. So I try not to come into a write empty-handed, I guess you could say.
Yeah, well, and so it sounds like too, you often come up with lyrical ideas and melodic ideas. And
yeah, it's literally half and half, probably. Yeah.
Wow.
So.
Wow. Do you find that it's easier maybe to like, when you're writing in that kind of context, right, and you're like coming into a room, will you like usually like to be able to bring in like a more solidified idea? Do you ever just go through and open up your notes and literally just like start playing stuff and see if you can put things together that way?
Pretty much that. I prefer kind of rapid fire, like let's throw it all out there on the table and get something and get to running. I have learned a lot about myself writing wise. I like to write with loud noises. I like, well, if it's a beat or if it's a guitar lick, I'm inspired by that. I like to stay in the rhythm of writing. I've found that going into a room sterilely and trying to just crank out something on my guitar, like I've done for so long, I'm finding it's a lot more enjoyable and fruitful for me to be with a good guitar player or be in a room with a band, and that's kind of a West Coast thing, writing in the studio, but that's definitely more inspiring. But to your point about bringing in ideas, like with Dean Dillon, I definitely Broke was the song, and I definitely brought my best, So I guess you say it all depends.
Yeah, and well, that's such a great kind of example too of how just playing music with other people can really go and augment writing so much, and just having someone to bounce your ideas off of.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, obviously Nashville is the best town in the world for that. I mean, there's a collaborative spirit everywhere you go, every coffee shop, every bar, So it's definitely a good place to be. There's so many talented people here that just to be in here talking to you, Joe, doing this is like more than I ever really thought I was going to do after that night at that block building bar. So, I'm just trying to enjoy the ride.
Yeah, wow, absolutely. Did y'all hear that? He's excited to be talking to me. That's great. Wow. Well, and speaking of Nashville too, you have been working here for some time, but you didn't move here until last year, right?
No, I've been here since 2010.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Then
2010.
I was misinformed with my research.
Yeah, no, I guess because I'm from Jackson, people think I like commute or something. But no, I've been up here since right after the flood of 2010 is when I moved here. So,
Oh, yeah.
and I lived with my sister for a couple of years. She's a kindergarten teacher down in Murfreesboro, so I would commute from Murfreesboro. But just playing writer nights every night of the week and meeting people to write with, and that's just kind of how it all started.
Yeah, wow. And so, talking about kind of your domestic life, I know too that you mentioned that you have these kids, and I'm wondering
Yeah,
if
it's crazy, man.
yeah.
It's crazy. It took me like forever to get around to the fact that I was somebody's husband. It just sounded like too grown up. And now I'm a dad and have 2 kids, and it's like, whoa, how did this happen?
Well,
I know how it happened, but like, man, it happened fast.
We're here to tell you how it happened,
Yeah,
Brandon.
there you go.
No. But I'm curious, so you mentioned now, it obviously has changed kind of your perspective on who you are as a person. I'm sure, has it changed your artistry too, kind of your songwriting?
Yeah, everybody said it would, and I was like, oh man, I don't know if it's going to be that way for me, and I'll be damned if it doesn't just completely change your world. I mean, I thought I had given all the love in my heart out, and then you have these kids and just you find like a whole nother area that you didn't know you could love something so much. And the best thing for me that having these kids have done is put music in perspective for me, because I'm very obsessive and extremely high anxiety, and so that's why honestly the radio tour was very it was turmoil for me behind the scenes, because so much like anxiety and mental health issues, to be honest with you. It's just you can psych yourself out, but having these kids, it's like they're going to love me whether I nail this interview or if I bomb it. You know what I mean? And that it just puts it in perspective, and the perspective takes the pressure off.
Yeah, absolutely. Wow. That's a really kind of amazing perspective too. And I feel like you got to feel like a stronger artist in every way, having that kind of wind behind your back.
Sometimes it's beneficial to, like, I don't want to say care a little less, but it definitely knocks the edge off, because you got them, and you realize that as great as country music is, and as great as healing as music is, as universal as music is, there's still other things in life, So I think that's kind of helped my OCD nature, walk into these situations a little easier.
Yeah, absolutely. Wow. Have you been able to do you play songs for them and stuff?
Yeah, my little boy hates it.
Oh,
he just
hates it?
Yeah, he hates it. He just wants to play with trucks. But my little girl, she's 1.5, and she's going to be the singer. Yeah, she dances when the coffee maker kicks on and makes a clicking noise. She starts dancing. So she's going to be the musical one for sure.
That's great. That is what I was wondering. I was like, you got to see seeds of music in them if there's there. Wow.
Yeah.
Well, we actually have an audience question here from Ms. Mason16, who asks, Brandon, your songs are beautiful. Have you ever been to Boise, Idaho?
Oh yeah, I've got a friend named Sway, and she's in a motorcycle gang in Boise, and we go and play that club. Mason could probably help me out with the name of it, Buffalo Club maybe. But one night after the show, I got to meet Sway and her motorcycle gang, and she had a street glide, a Harley Davidson street glide, and I've got to deal with Harley. Luckily, they gave me a street glide, and so she was like, take off and ride it. And my guitar player, JP, another guy, let him ride. So we went riding all over Boise one night on Sway's motorcycle, and then she's also sent like little clothes for my kids and stuff. So shout out to Sway and the biker gang. We went to IHOP after we rode around at like 4 in the morning. So got very fond memories of Boise.
Yeah, there you go. Oh my gosh.
Good people.
That's great. Well, you got a question here too from WC_1990, who asks, any new songs coming out soon? And I bet you got something exciting to talk about for this person on Friday.
Friday, yeah. Friday is the day we're releasing a song called Back Home, so stay tuned and check it out.
Yeah, what can you tell us about that tune?
That song I wrote with a fellow Tennessean, Lynn Hutton, and I'd always looked up to Lynn as a writer, and I was like, man, he writes some cool stuff, and finally got a chance to get in the room with him, and that day just clicked. It was just a good day, and so that's probably been 7 years ago, and I'm glad now it's found a home on a project and a vessel to put out in the world. So yeah, back home. Hope you guys will take a glance at it.
Yeah. What is that like to be able to have a song that's like 7 years old and be able to kind of like revisit it and not only now be sharing it, but to find that it still like resonates and that it's held up?
Well, I guess time will tell how well it resonates. I hope it resonates. Yeah, I wanted to write stuff ever since I moved here that had not an expiration date, and stuff that I would enjoy potentially playing the rest of my life. You know, say it went #1, whatever, and it became part of who people perceive me when they hear my name. You know, maybe they attach back home to that. I think that's why it was important to have songs that weren't just kind of too gimmicky, you know what I mean? So yeah, I definitely, the lyrics definitely still are true as ever, and I think the revisiting it part that was interesting was in the studio, because we bumped the key up a full step, and Jonathan had a different guitar pattern that really, like, I felt like made the chorus soar more than ever, and you know, so it was kind of making an old song new, but obviously it's gonna be new to everybody else. So
Yeah, wow, that's great. Well, and talking about other new stuff that you're doing or doing again, you've been back on the road recently. What's it been like to kind of get out again and kind of start sharing music in person?
it's been awesome. It makes me realize when we did so many dates a year, I was probably taking some of them for granted. So it's like, man, finally being in person with people and seeing familiar faces that have followed us all around the country. It's been very rewarding to get out there and do it. I mean, it's definitely an itch that I've been dying to scratch.
Yeah, absolutely. Wow. Well, let's see. I actually believe that we are going to be going to an ad break pretty soon here. But before we do, I want to get in one other question that I lost on my iPad. Oh no. Well, maybe we should just go to an ad break and we can come back with some musical performance and some rapid fire questions and
Sounds
some
good.
other fun stuff. That's all going to be cooking here on Off the Record Live after this quick break. Hello, and welcome back to Off the Record Live. We're here in Neon Media's wonderful studios with Brandon Lay. Brandon, you're about to play us a song.
Sure, yeah.
What song are you going to play?
We'll play Back Home since it's coming out Friday. So
All right, I'm excited to hear it.
here we go. George Strait still playing on the FM radio dial in the kitchen. Smell of my old man cigarette and my sweet mama southern fried chicken. The yard seems smaller, that magnolia's grown. Damn, it sure feels good to be back home. Yeah, it does. That state champ sign on the highway takes me back to my senior year. Muddy river water in my future seemed to be just about as clear. Graduation night, I was good as gone. Damn, it sure feels good to be back home. Home where it all went down. Growing up hellbound on killing beers and time. Girls coming along for the ride up high, sliding over close. No red lights, cause yellow meant go. We were breaking rules more than we should. Love was sweet and life was good. I can't count the memories that keep hitting me like a train. The talk of town, the folks hanging around, I thank God ain't nothing changed. That Waffle House sign, still missing that old. Damn, it sure feels good to be back home. Home where it all went down. Growing up hellbound on killing beers and time. Girls coming along for the ride up high, sliding over close. No red lights, cause yellow meant go. We were breaking rules more than we should. Love was sweet and life was good. Shut it down for a couple days. Get the old man's boat out on the lake. Might get a little wild, just the boys and me like we used to do. It's good to be home where it all went down. Growing up hellbound on killing beers and time. Girls coming along for the ride, up high sliding over close. No red lights 'cause yellow make go. We were breaking rules more than we should. Love was sweet and life was good. Life was good. Yeah, we were breaking rules more than we should. Yeah, love was sweet and life was good. Thanks, brother. Thank you.
Beautiful. Wow.
Oh, shoot. Thank you, man.
A great track.
Thank you.
Well, we have now some rapid fire questions for you.
Those are my favorite.
Yeah, all right. Well, I am really excited to ask them to you. All right. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
That was the first one. What time of the day are you most productive?
6 to 8 a.m.
Texting or calling?
Texting.
First job?
Mowing yards.
Most used emoji?
Probably like this because I got a lot to be thankful for, so praise.
What's your morning routine?
Well, it starts when the sun comes up, and I go get some Mamilla milk, which is like Ensure that my little boy is obsessed with, and we watch monster trucks till about 8. So I mean, I'm doing a lot. If I can get away, I mean, early in the morning is usually like when I do. If I can get away, if my wife has the kids, I will do. You know, I'm working on my studio upstairs right now, and so I'm grafting like 2 old cabinets together. So I'm like doing stuff like that or building sound panels. But then after that, I'm writing. So I try to like do construction farm stuff before music.
Oh, wow. Do you feel like that kind of gets you in the right headspace?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And you get a little something done, which in the music business, you don't hardly ever get to see if you've gotten something done and, you know, you go paint a tractor, it's red, you know what I mean? So I think you got to have some satisfaction.
There you go. I got to imagine the morning monster truck intake has got to be pretty good.
Oh,
too.
man, yeah. We're gravedigger crazy around my house. So.
Right on. Oh, gosh. Okay. You're going to a deli. What's your sandwich order?
Oh, gosh. I don't like cold sandwiches like at all, but ham and cheese.
You like hot sandwiches?
Yeah, I do.
What's your hot sandwich order?
I guess ham and cheese.
Oh, all right.
I'm real simple. People are like, you eat like a 6-year-old. I'm like, I don't want pickles. I don't want onions, you know, but.
But it's better when it's hot.
Absolutely, yeah. Cold stuff
agree.
it kind of freaks me out.
What kind of bread do you like to use?
White.
White? Yeah. there
I'm
you go.
white bread.
Yeah. Classics. It works.
Yep.
If you could compete in the Olympics, what would your sport be?
Basketball.
Basketball, right on. What was your first concert you ever went to?
Kenny Chesney.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yep, he came to my hometown.
How old were you?
I was 13.
Wow.
And I was with my little middle school girlfriend and my mom, and we were like up at the top and behind the curtain so we could kind of see him come up on a riser. The lights went out, and I never heard either one of them scream like that. I'm like, ooh, that would be cool to do for a living. So ever since that, I was crazy about Kenny. He was definitely a big influence.
Oh my gosh, that is so cool. Favorite subject in school?
History.
History, right on.
Mm-hmm.
Did you ever have a nickname?
Belay.
What was it?
Belay.
Belay.
Yeah, that's what most people call me.
Oh, right
For a
on.
little bit in college, they called me LeBrandon, so I don't know where that came from. But
That's great. Describe yourself in 3 words.
oh man, I'm not a simple person. Let's see here. Complex, motivated, and grateful.
Right on. Do you drink coffee? How do you take it?
I drink coffee anyway.
Anyway.
Yeah, I mean, if I have my Ruthers, I'll put a little creamer in it, but I don't really care. It's more about the destination, the journey, if you feel what I'm saying.
Yeah, yeah. Don Felder or Joe Walsh?
Oh gosh, Joe Walsh.
Can't beat him.
Nope.
All right, are you ready for the favorites? We're gonna give you favorite things, and you're gonna list them for us. This is the like lightning round of the rapid questions.
Okay.
Favorite drink?
Coca-Cola.
Favorite season?
Summer.
Favorite word?
I don't know. Favorite word? Nicole, because I'm always losing stuff. So I'm always like, Nicole. She's like, I hear you when you're not even here. You're in my head all the time, around every corner, screaming for your wallet that's laying right in front of you. So probably my wife's name.
Favorite movie?
Goodfellas.
Right on. Favorite TV show?
Ooh, favorite TV show. I've got it for you. Either Sons of Anarchy or Ozark.
Oh, good choice.
And I'm also into Yellowstone too, so
yeah.
I'm waiting on that to come back around.
All right. Favorite book?
Where the Red Fern Grows.
Classic.
Yeah.
Classic. Favorite color?
Black.
Right on. Wow. Well, I believe that we're going to be going to another ad break soon, but I think we have enough time. Would you play us one more song?
Absolutely.
Wonderful. What do you feel like playing?
Broke.
All right. Well, I'd love to hear it.
All righty. Let's see.
And if y'all are watching at home, we're going to be back after the ad break with some more questions. And so if you've got questions to ask, we're reading them.
So we're doing the song before the ad break?
Yes.
Okay, cool. Yeah, this is one I wrote with monster songwriter Dean Dillon, and however nervous I am for this interview, Joe, I was like 15 times more nervous when I couldn't even say my name when I went in to write with him. But I had this idea, and he liked it, and definitely helped me put it together. Well, it sits in the backyard where the grass is overgrown, stuck in first, tires flat, and that old engine blown. Bringing back old memories when you were right beside me, but now it sits in the weeds, busted up to remind me. And I thought about dragging it out, I thought about fixing it up, calling you to see if we could pick the pieces of our love back up, have another run at us before we went up in smoke. I hate to leave it like it is, can't stand to see it there like this, broke. Baby, broke. If I could put it back together better than it was, rebuild, repaint, do all the things I know it would make it run. Dash lights lighting up your face, down any time for anything. We were like a match we let burn out way too quick. And I thought about dragging it out, I thought about fixing it up, calling you to see if we could pick the pieces of our love back up, have another run at us before we went up in smoke. I hate to leave it like it is, can't stand to see it there like this, bro. Just bro. And all I see is us and that old Stingray. You can't tell me that what we had can't live to see another day. I thought about dragging it out, I thought about fixing it up, calling you to see if we could pick the pieces of our love back up, have another run at us before we went up in smoke. Hate to leave it like it is, can't stand to see it there like this, bro. Baby, bro. It sits in the backyard where the grass is overgrown, stuck in first, tires flat, and that old engine blown. All right, thank you.
Oh, it's just beautiful.
Thank you, man.
Great chorus on that one.
Thank you, brother.
Soars.
I appreciate it.
Wow. Well, we're going to be going to a quick ad break, but we're going to be back with some more great conversation with Brandon Lay. Hello and welcome back to Off the Record Live. We're back with Brandon Lay, and now we're going to be doing kind of a fun thing, which is here at American Songwriter, we obviously love talking about songs and kind of digging into the stories behind them and kind of showing how these things come into the world. And so we want to ask you about some of your tunes, starting with the big one, Speakers, Bleachers, and Preachers. What can you tell us about this song? When did you write it?
I believe I wrote it in 2015 with Luke Laird and Shane McAnally, which they're good songwriters, and there was a track playing that particular track, and I was just going through my notes and I mumbled that out, and Luke was like, "Man, that's our title. Let's run with it," and it became my first single to country radio because it's pretty a literal summation of me growing up in the Bible Belt in Middle America, and my dad was a minister. My mom worked at the school, so pretty middle of the road all the way around. So kind of just encapsulated that in this song, and I think that's why it ended up being my first single.
Yeah. Was that kind of like the origin idea for the song? Was like, let's kind of go through like the images of my own life? Or?
No, it didn't really get like that until the second verse. And Luke was like, I don't know if we need to put Kenny Chesney in the second verse. Like, that feels too like close. And Shane was like, but that's what he listened to. Like, so we need to put it in there. So I don't know if that helped me get on tour with Kenny or not, but I'd like to think it might have helped. But name dropping him. But it was really that second verse where we like started making it custom more for me. The first verse and chorus, we were just trying to do our best,
Yeah, wow. So the idea kind of develops as you kind of go through. And
it did, yeah.
Circle back around.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. And so on that note, it does come from these episodes of your own life. How has it been to see just how much legs this song has had?
It's done good in America, done really good in Canada, and it's awesome. I think that's the ultimate payoff for a songwriter is just to be heard. So I'm very appreciative of that. But I feel like the lyrics were specific to me, but they were still generic enough where people can fill in your own blank. Maybe you didn't go to the Kroger parking lot, but you went to some parking lot. So I think that's why maybe people have been able to gravitate towards it.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Wow. Well, the next one I want to ask you about is Yada Yada Yada. What can you tell us about this tune?
You see a pattern here. I think I didn't realize my first two were triple titles, but you've seen the movie Blow with Johnny Depp?
I actually have not seen that film, unfortunately.
That's in my top 5. But we were on our way back from a gig, and I was driving my SUV. We pulled a trailer, and my band was in the back watching that movie. And there was just like an intermission instrumental part of the movie that kind of had a cool chord progression. And so I just hummed in my phone, yada, 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 because I was just getting down the road. And I don't know, it kind of turned into a cool little idea that I wrote with Heather Morgan and Mikey Reeves. And having her perspective on it as the female, kind of playing off of it was, I think, took it to another level, just having that element, It can get too, dude-like, So it was definitely cool to have her on it and sing on it. So it was cool that she got to be on the radio as well.
Yeah, totally. So you mentioned that the Yada 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 originally kind of came as just like you were kind of.
They were dummy lyrics, and I hope people aren't still like they still are, but but they were filler, they were filler. So sometimes you just mumble things just to get the idea across, So.
Was there a moment where you eventually made the decision, what if it just stayed yada yada yada?
That was something that we just agreed on when we were writing it. Just, hey, it might just be cool just to leave it like that. So.
Yeah, well, it really sounds good too. It works so well for the voice.
Thank you, and as a writer, I've been wanting something with a flat 7 in it. For people that know music, that would be, I think, the third chord in the chorus. But
I was right about to ask you if you would pick up the guitar, and I'm not going to put you on the spot. But if you could play the chorus chords and just show us that third one, because it sounds so cool when you do that. Well,
thanks. It's definitely better with the bass. But pop top, raise a little hell, drinking every drop, a liquor on the shelf. That's all yada yada yada, baby, 'cause I got you. Take that purse, drop it on the floor, 'cause you and me ain't got nowhere to go. All I need, you got a lot of this yada yada yada. Anyway, so that third chord is what kind of sold me on it. And it's funny because it was a thing going around Music Row where put flat 7 in a song, you're gonna kill it. It's gonna sound too vintage. And I don't know, we just liked it, so we kept it in.
Oh, I think it's great. It totally works so well. And when I was listening
Thanks for noticing.
Yeah. Oh yeah, it's my favorite thing. And for those of you at home, it's this really cool thing where you look at it and you listen to it. It's pretty much like a little mini modulation.
Yeah.
You kind of change keys
That's a good way to put
2
it.
seconds and then jump right back in. Mm-hmm. And so you can kind of keep everything else the same, but then that little shift is enough where it totally changes the whole feel of everything.
Yeah, it's weird. I've always thought of this song in black and pink. I don't know why. I think of songs in colors, but that, to me, that's like a pink stripe in the chorus when it's just a different color. So I don't know. That's super, super weird. But
oh, that's so cool. Do you have like synesthesia or anything like that?
What is that?
That's like when you hear colors.
I don't know. Maybe so, because like Back Home is gold and black. I don't know where that came from. Broke is blue and white. Like, I don't know. I might have a problem, but it's weird.
You got to put out like a poster or something with the record that has all the colors or something, some kind of visual thing there.
Yeah, maybe there's something to that. Yeah, that's a good idea.
Wow. Well, you can give me an executive producer credit on the poster.
Yeah. Checks in the mail.
Well, another song I want to ask you about, and you played it for us just now, is Broke. And specifically, I know that you wrote it with Dean Dillon. You mentioned that you were so kind of nervous going in. But once the nerves kind of wore off, what was that session like, kind of writing this tune?
It was just surreal to get in the groove of somebody like him, to see him like what I was kind of doing. You know, that was a really rewarding day. And he's the kind of guy that some of these older, experienced writers, especially him, like, I mumble out bad ideas all the time and like try to chase melodies and stuff. Like, they don't. They just like speak it, and it's like, that's where it should go, you know? And so what drew me to this song always was it kind of felt to me like a 90s melody in the chorus. And it was very, like, for the musical people, very harmony friendly. It was a good bed for harmony, and that kind of meant a lot to me in live show. So, but for the longest, it sat in my Dropbox, and the work tape was just so country. I thought it was going to come across as like neo-traditional hat act, and that's like, I didn't just want the song to be gimmicky. That was it. And so I think rocking it out with Jonathan, it just became less of a throwback and just more about the song, which is the goal.
Yeah, wow, and it's a great example too of how over time you can kind of come back and reinvent those songs,
exactly,
find new ways to illuminate them.
Mm-hmm.
Wow, that's great. Well, we have some more audience questions here, and
good.
If you're still watching and you got a question and you haven't sent it yet, you're not out of time. You can still do it. But from Rosa Beats, we have, do you have any pre-show rituals?
Oh, man. Well, you know, I've cut back on my drinking. Had to do that. Got into some real bad habits, I guess you could say, playing a lot of shows. And so it used to be like 2 shots of Jack Daniels and say a prayer. And now it's just say a prayer. So there you go.
Wow, right on. Do you find that it's easier to sing?
It's easier to sing after you drink a shot, for sure. It just is. But I don't know. My rituals are, they're kind of fluid.
There you go. From Battles Wharf Music, we have, who are some of your favorite co-writers?
You know, some of my favorite co-writers, Lynn Hutton. I wrote Back Home with him. Lynn Hutton, he's just cool, man. Everything he writes is cool. Heather Morgan, Jimmy Bell, and Brett Tyler. And there's so many, but those are the people I've been writing with here recently. And it's definitely like seasonal. I feel like different seasons I'll be in a 4 to 5 writer group, and I try to stay with it, you know, because there's something about continuity I feel like can lead to a better song. Because when you're starting all over every day fresh, like, hey, so where are you from? Like, you know, I think that takes away from, you know, there's just a comfort level. And so I think it's important to stay with the same group, and the group can change, but that's where I'm at now.
Yeah, wow. From Tatum Lynn 64, who would you want to tour with and why?
I would love to go on another Kenny Chesney tour. I mean, to me, that doesn't get any bigger. I mean, at the time, I think it was, you know, attendance the biggest in the world, so I would like to go out with Kenny again. People ask me what kind of rooms I like to play in and what's your vibe, and I'm like, stadiums. I like the bigger the better. I mean, and you know, I'm known for like, I kind of have a more is more mentality, and it gets me in trouble. But like, I'm the guy that I try to go big on everything, and so playing the stadium is where it's at for me. Yeah,
wow. From Cat Walt Hall, we have, how would you describe your fans?
Well, everybody says loyal, but they are. I don't want to like say, oh, if you like my music, you're smart. But like the people that dig me the most, like they're teachers and they just have really good jobs, and they're able to afford to follow us around the country and come to some shows. And I don't know, they get me, and like, I can be an acquired taste for people. First impression thing, I didn't even get it right with my wife on her end, but I don't know. The people that get me, and obviously the goal as a songwriter and an artist is to get more in that camp, but it is good the people that do understand what you're saying and who you are. Man, it makes for a really great foundation, even if it's smaller, because they, they're loyal. They drive a long way and show up. And I'm like, you're here now? You were just in Boise last night? Like, how did you get here? Oh, we drove all night and slept in a Pilot parking lot. Like, that's how cool they are.
Wow, that's got to be amazing.
Yeah.
Wow. You made a bad first impression with your wife?
Well, yeah, kind of. Not
the best.
Well, it was good enough where we were able to progress, but I was trying to keep the conversation going. So I'm like, so where'd you go to school? Alabama. I'm like, oh, so you went to Alabama, huh? Like, I just was an idiot, trying to keep the conversation going. But, I don't know. First impressions can be overrated.
Well, you made it through.
I made it through. It's good.
Sometimes second impressions is what saves you.
I'm usually a second kind of guy. Yeah.
There you go.
It's usually where I shine.
Well, we got another question from Tatum Lynn 64, and this is a good one. I'm very personally curious in this one with artists that we talk to, but how has social media made a difference in your career?
Well, it's a direct line to my fans, and for obvious reasons. I think social media, for me, it's good for that, and obviously showing different sides of yourself. I think that kind of helps people really know who you are, draw in better. So I would say the behind the scenes look is what it's kind of offered me to show. And some people probably get tired of me posting a picture of my tractor or my kid, but like that's part of my life as well as music. So I think it's been a great platform for that.
Yeah, well, I feel like for country music, especially where it's songs where you are sharing parts of your own life, and to kind of have that be the visual kind of side of it too.
Yeah, I mean, I try to walk the walk with like the lyrics, but like social media for me, I try not to make it a sport. I'll say it that way, and I feel like it can easily be like a competition or a sport, and like that's just not really my style. And I could always probably post more and do better, but and I do respond back when people hit me up or try to, but I know if I cross that line of, hey guys, look at me, like I know there's a line that if I cross, I'm doomed, and I just try to keep it real,
Yeah, absolutely. Well, here's another one from Rosa Beats, who asks, how do you combat writer's block?
I just step away, really. Yeah, I've learned just to step away and go do something else. Writer's block, yeah, it's a real thing. I'm like I said, I've got an obsessive nature, so when I'm in a creative mode, that's all I talk about. That's what I wake up thinking about, go to sleep thinking about, and I'm like, oh, no, don't talk to me, I got something. But when I'm not, I'm like bush hogging on my tractor, and like people are like, oh, I bet you get a lot of good ideas out there. I'm like, no, I'm thinking about the next lap, So for me, I'm so on or off. I just, if you ain't got it, just turn it off.
Yeah.
That pressure doesn't vibe right.
Yeah. Have you ever had it where you have like an idea and you kind of hit a wall with it, or maybe you're like, this isn't the best idea in the world, but you've given it to a co-writer who has been able to like turn it around and like keep it going forward?
Yeah, sure. I've definitely had a few of those. And sometimes what can get you is you have a verse and chorus and you get too precious with it, and you're like, oh, I don't want to mess this song up, and I'm really attached to what I have, that it's hard to grow on it. Where's your rapid fire? And, they don't have that problem, obviously. So I probably have slowed down the ultimate process just by being so precious with them. And, like, I don't, like, I could give it to him, but then who might make it this? And, just right.
Oh, yeah, that's true. Well, that is always the hard thing with all kinds of writing, I guess, is
that
kind of relationship between you and the words itself.
Yeah, absolutely.
Wow. Well, let's see. Oh, we got a question here that is arriving on my screen as we speak from 2Blue77, who asks, what's your favorite food to eat on the road?
Steak.
Steak?
Yeah, I mean, I love a good steak anywhere. So luckily, going on the road and doing radio promotion, you get to go out to eat with these guys, and the label picks up the tab. I'm sure I'm probably paying them back one day, but for the meantime, steak tastes good. So yeah, especially this place in Chicago called Chicago Cut. It's the real deal.
Oh wow. Well, we're coming near the end of our time today, but I kind of got one last question for you to dig into, which is between kind of the music you got coming up. You got the single on Friday, and also shows coming back, the world kind of opening up again. How do you feel? What's the future look like for Brandon Lay?
You know, we're not on a specific tour right now, so we're kind of here and there and everywhere. So I mean, I would just encourage people, if they want to come out and check us out, just look at my tour dates on brandonlay.com. But the future for me is just to grow as an artist, and I feel like by releasing these songs, I'm able to have peace and move on creatively. And that doesn't always time out right in the music industry when, you know, you're wanting to put out a song, and then by the time it gets out, you're tired of it. I'm just blessed that's not the case now. So the future for me is just to, you know, I have these core songs like Broken Back Home and Speakers, Bleachers, and Preachers, but now that they're out, I feel like I can creatively move on, and that's what I'm looking forward to the most.
Yeah, absolutely. That's so great. Wow. Well, I want to thank you so much, Brandon, for stopping by and speaking with us today. It's been a joy.
Glad to do it, Joe. Appreciate you having me.
Now, what's the name of your new single, and when's it out, and where can our viewers find it?
Back Home, Friday, October 1st. Any DSP, Spotify, Apple Music, Amazon. Check it out.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for stopping by. I also want to thank American Songwriter and Twitch for being the digital hosts of this wonderful show. I want to thank Neon Media for being the brick and mortar host of our broadcast today. And I want to thank all of you at home who've been tuning in and watching this and sending in your questions. If you haven't gotten the chance yet, please subscribe. Please keep your eyes peeled for more wonderful live streams that are going to be coming up and all sorts of cool things. I'm Joe Vito for American Songwriter. Thank you so much for tuning in.